Morning guys, it's Chris up here at Rock Outdoors. Shane and I doing our weekly installment of the fishing report. First thing I got to say is, as most everybody knows, there's no tournaments going on right now. Everything's been canceled due to the outbreak of the coronavirus, and I understand all that. Safety comes first, you know. As anytime you have a tournament, you have a lot of people gathered up in one place, and that's just really not a good idea right now. So I don't have a tournament report this week, but I do have a fishing report. The good thing about all this is the lakes are still open, the boat ramps are still open. You're still good to go spend as much time as you want to on the lake, and the fishing is phenomenal. The fishing's great. The fish are really biting. It's kind of starting to transition just a little bit. You know, last week when we talked, the fish were kind of starting to stage on some, on some of the little places, on the flat places and the secondary points. It got really warm for a couple of days last week. The water jumped up to 64, 65 degrees. Fish kind of left some of those places and they went to the bank. They're not spawning yet, but they are just on the verge of it. And I anticipate fish being on the bed by the time the first of the week or maybe next week gets here with this warm weather coming up. But I actually got to fish 4 days this week, and it was a lot of fun. And the spinnerbait bite's still phenomenal. You know, I went to a little lake Saturday and caught a couple of really big fish on the spinnerbait. I fished baiting a couple of days this week. I had some wind and some cloud cover. And anytime you get wind and clouds, spinnerbait's just a hard bait to beat. But what the fish have done, like I said, they've kind of went to the bank and they're not spawning yet, but they're close to doing it. And what they do, they kind of get out of a chase mode and they kind of get more of a mode where you got to finesse them a little bit. A jig. This is a 1/2 ounce Dave's Tournament Tackle Bubba jig. I trail it with a sweet tail crawl that he makes, and you just kind of go down the bank and you flip and you pitch, and you kind of try to, especially if the water's dirty, you kind of want to visualize, maybe where a fish is set up and spawn if you can't see them, and you just throw in there and you just make repeated casts. It might be a stump, it might be a pole on a dock or a patch of grass with a hole in it, but I fished the last couple of days and the jig bites really got good. And another thing that's probably going to get really good, and I'll touch on this next week when we get a little closer to it, is like a creature bait bite and maybe even a topwater bite with the water starting to warm up like it is. But this is when you get towards the end of March and towards the 1st of April, you start dealing with a lot of transition, and that's what's happening right now. The fish are transitioning from their staging type places to where they're actually going to set up and spawn. And actually, somewhere like Lake Norman or some of the Clearwater lakes where you can see there's probably some fish already on the bed. But anyway, that's kind of what's going on, and it looks like everything's canceled tournament-wise for at least the next 2 weeks, and honestly, I just don't see anything until maybe the 1st of May, if then, and that's okay. We got to stay safe. But I do hope everybody stays safe, practice your social distancing. I can't think of a better place to practice social distancing than on the pond. That's about as safest place as you can be. I hope everybody has a good week. Get out, catch some fish. We'll see you guys next week, same time, same place. Y'all have a good one.